My name is Marcus Snowpeak. I am 38 years old, and I work as a cabin rental manager for Rocky Mountain Romantic Retreats, overseeing luxury cabins throughout the Colorado Rockies where couples come to celebrate special occasions, but where I've learned that some Valentine's Day getaways attract attention from entities that have their own twisted ideas about romance. Before we begin, let us know in the comments where you are watching from, please. I've been managing romantic cabin rentals for 11 years throughout Colorado's high country. Properties located in remote mountain settings where couples seek privacy and romance, but where isolation can quickly become a nightmare when something decides to join your intimate celebration. This happened last, the 14th of February, while checking on guests at Aspen Ridge Cabin, a luxury rental located at 10,500 feet elevation, about 15 miles from Breckenridge, where I was responding to emergency calls from a couple celebrating their third wedding anniversary with a Valentine's weekend escape. Brandon and Jessica Miller had booked our most romantic property specifically for Valentine's Day, a secluded log cabin with panoramic mountain views, a hot tub on the deck, and complete privacy surrounded by thousands of acres of wilderness where no other humans should be within miles. The cabin was equipped with all modern amenities, but maintained rustic charm that couples loved for romantic getaways. Stone, fireplace, candlelit dining area, king-size bed with mountain views, and outdoor spaces perfect for stargazing and intimate conversations. Around 8 p.m. on the 14th of February, I received a panicked call from Brandon Miller, reporting that something was stalking their cabin with behavior that went far beyond curious wildlife or random trespassers. According to Brandon, the stalking had begun around sunset when they noticed a figure watching their cabin from the tree line about 100 yards away. At first, they assumed it was another hiker or possibly a property maintenance worker, but the figure's behavior quickly became disturbing and predatory. The stalker would move closer to the cabin whenever Brandon and Jessica went inside, but would retreat to the forest edge when they came back onto the deck or looked out the windows. The pattern was deliberate and showed obvious intelligence about maintaining surveillance while avoiding direct confrontation. What made the situation terrifying was that the stalker seemed to be studying their romantic activities with voyeuristic interest. When the couple was sharing intimate moments on the deck or in the hot tub, the figure would move to positions that provided optimal viewing angles of their private activities. Around 9 p.m., the stalking escalated when multiple figures began surrounding the cabin from different directions. Brandon counted at least 4 separate entities positioned around their property, coordinating their surveillance and creating a perimeter that prevented any escape from the cabin. The entities demonstrated knowledge of the cabin's layout and vulnerabilities that suggested long-term observation of the property and previous guests. They knew which windows provided views into different rooms and which outdoor areas could be monitored from forest positions. Most disturbing was their apparent understanding of romantic behavior and couple dynamics. The entities would increase their activity during intimate moments, as if feeding off the emotional and physical energy of the couple's Valentine celebration. Around 10 p.m., the entities began making vocalizations that sounded like distorted attempts to mimic romantic conversation, whispered words of affection, spoken in voices that were almost human but wrong enough to be deeply unsettling. The mimicked romantic dialogue included phrases like, "I love you," and "you are beautiful," spoken in tones that suggested the entities were trying to participate in or corrupt the couple's Valentine celebration through grotesque imitation of human intimacy. Around 11 p.m., the entities began testing the cabin's security by manipulating door handles, tapping on windows, and attempting to gain access to areas where the couple was trying to maintain their romantic evening. Despite the psychological terror of being watched, the attempts at entry were calculated and persistent, showing that the entities were willing to escalate their intrusion to gain closer access to the couple's romantic activities. They seemed particularly interested in the bedroom and bathroom areas, where maximum vulnerability could be exploited. Around midnight, the stalking reached its most terrifying phase when the entities began imitating the sounds of the couple's intimate activities, broadcasting distorted versions of their private moments back at them from the surrounding forest. The acoustic harassment created a nightmare scenario where Brandon and Jessica's most intimate Valentine moments were being recorded, distorted, and replayed by entities that demonstrated sophisticated understanding of psychological torture techniques. When I arrived at the cabin around 1 a.m. with backup from local sheriff's deputies, we found evidence of the stalking siege that confirmed the couple's account. Footprints in the snow showed multiple entities had indeed surrounded the cabin and maintained surveillance positions for hours. The footprints were larger than human feet and showed movement patterns that indicated the entities had been coordinating their positions to maximize observation coverage while maintaining concealment from the cabin's occupants. Most disturbing were the areas where snow had been melted in perfect circles around trees near the cabin, as if the entities generated body heat that exceeded normal mammalian levels while conducting their extended surveillance operations. We also found carved symbols in trees around the cabin that appeared to mark territory or claim ownership over the property and its romantic guests. The symbols were fresh and showed tool marks that didn't match any known wildlife behavior or human carving techniques. Brandon and Jessica Miller left immediately that night, abandoning their Valentine celebration and refusing to return to collect personal items they had left in the cabin. They later reported recurring nightmares about being watched during intimate moments. Over the following weeks, I investigated similar stalking incidents at other romantic rental properties throughout the Colorado Rockies. The pattern was consistent. Couples celebrating Valentine's Day or anniversaries were being targeted by entities that demonstrated obsessive interest in human romantic behavior. The entities seemed to be drawn specifically to expressions of love and physical intimacy, suggesting they were either feeding off romantic energy or attempting to understand human pair bonding through direct observation and mimicry. I've implemented enhanced security protocols for all romantic cabin rentals, but the stalking incidents continue to occur during major romantic holidays. Some entities in the high country have developed an unhealthy fascination with human love, and they're getting more sophisticated in their surveillance techniques every year. Valentine's Day bookings now include warnings about maintaining indoor privacy and reporting any signs of observation. But some couples still choose isolation over safety when planning their romantic mountain escapes. My name is Charlotte Hartwood. I am 43 years old, and I work as an emergency medical technician for Summit County EMS, responding to medical emergencies throughout Colorado's high-altitude resort communities where Valentine's Day celebrations sometimes turn into survival situations that test every aspect of my trauma training. I've been working mountain emergency response for 16 years, dealing with everything from skiing accidents to altitude sickness. But nothing prepared me for the calls I started receiving about couples being physically attacked by entities during romantic getaways at luxury mountain resorts. This happened last Valentine's Day while responding to emergency calls from the Grand Alpine Resort near Keystone, where 3 separate couples reported violent attacks by invisible or semi-visible entities that seemed to target romantic celebrations with systematic aggression designed to destroy intimate relationships. The resort was hosting a Valentine's weekend package that attracted dozens of couples seeking luxury romantic experiences in Colorado's mountain environment, candlelit dinners, couple spa treatments, and private cabin accommodations with all the amenities for perfect romantic celebrations. The first attack occurred around 9 p.m. in the resort's romantic restaurant during what should have been the evening's most intimate dining experience. Kevin and Amanda Walsh were sharing a candlelit Valentine's dinner when their table was violently overturned by something they couldn't see. According to witness accounts, chairs were thrown across the dining room, wine glasses shattered against walls, and the couple's romantic meal was destroyed in seconds by a force that demonstrated obvious intelligence and malicious intent toward their celebration. Kevin Walsh reported feeling invisible hands grabbing him and attempting to drag him away from Amanda, while she experienced what felt like claws raking across her arms and back during the attack. Both sustained physical injuries that required immediate medical treatment. The second attack occurred simultaneously at the resort's couple's spa, where Nathan and Lisa Chen were receiving romantic massage treatments when the spa equipment began operating violently on its own, targeting the couple with therapeutic devices turned into weapons. Massage tables tilted to dangerous angles, hot stone heaters overheated to burning temperatures, and aromatherapy diffusers began spraying essential oils with enough pressure to cause chemical burns on exposed skin. The spa attack showed sophisticated knowledge of the facility's equipment and safety vulnerabilities, suggesting the attacking entity had extensive experience with the resort's romantic amenities and how they could be weaponized against unsuspecting couples. The third attack was the most violent and occurred at the resort's romantic hot tub area, where couples traditionally ended their Valentine evenings with intimate soaks under the stars. Jason and Monica Rodriguez were attacked while relaxing in the heated pool. The hot tub's temperature controls were manipulated to create scalding water that forced the couple to evacuate quickly. But they were then pursued by an entity that threw deck furniture and shattered glass around the pool area, while making vocalizations that sounded like rage at their romantic happiness. During the hot tub attack, both Jason and Monica reported being physically grabbed and shoved underwater by invisible hands that seemed determined to drown them, or at least terrorize them enough to ruin their Valentine celebration permanently. When I arrived at the Grand Alpine Resort with my emergency team, we found a scene that looked like a war zone rather than a romantic destination. 3 couples required medical treatment for injuries sustained during coordinated attacks that had occurred simultaneously across different resort areas. The coordination between attacks suggested multiple entities working together with tactical planning and communication capabilities that exceeded random violence or animal behavior. The attacks were specifically timed to occur during peak romantic moments. Most disturbing was the pattern of injuries sustained by all 3 couples. Physical trauma was carefully calibrated to cause pain and terror without creating life, threatening emergencies, as if the attacking entities wanted to terrorize without killing, to destroy romance without ending lives. The attacks also showed intimate knowledge of human romantic psychology. Each couple reported that the violence was specifically designed to target their most vulnerable emotional moments, suggesting the entities had been observing romantic behavior and learning how to inflict maximum psychological damage. Over the following hour, while treating the injured couples, we received additional emergency calls from other resort guests reporting phantom attacks throughout the property. The entire Valentine's celebration had become a nightmare of systematic violence against romantic intimacy. Room service deliveries of romantic meals were intercepted and destroyed in hallways. Couples' personal belongings were scattered and damaged in patterns that seemed designed to humiliate and terrorize. Romantic gifts were defaced or destroyed with malicious creativity. The attacks continued throughout the night, escalating whenever couples attempted to resume romantic activities or find safe spaces for intimacy. The entities seemed determined to ensure that no romantic connection could survive their Valentine's Day assault. By morning, the Grand Alpine Resort had been evacuated, and all Valentine's reservations canceled indefinitely. The property required extensive repairs and security upgrades before it could safely accommodate romantic guests again. Investigation into the phantom attacks revealed that similar incidents had been occurring at Colorado mountain resorts during major romantic holidays for over a decade. But most were covered up to protect tourism and property values. The pattern suggested that certain entities in Colorado's high country had developed specific hostility toward human romantic expression and were using Valentine's Day celebrations as opportunities to study and attack intimate relationships with increasing sophistication. I continue working emergency medical response because couples deserve to celebrate love safely, even in remote mountain locations. But I now carry specialized equipment for treating injuries caused by supernatural attacks and maintain protocols for psychological trauma that conventional EMS training doesn't address. Some entities in the Colorado Rockies have declared war on human romance, and Valentine's Day has become their primary battlefield. My name is Gabriel Trailblaze. I am 35 years old, and I work as a search and rescue coordinator for Colorado Mountain Rescue, specializing in missing persons cases throughout the Rockies, where I've discovered that couples who venture into the wilderness for romantic Valentine's hikes sometimes disappear in ways that defy every principle of search and rescue science. I've been coordinating mountain rescue operations for 12 years, leading searches for missing hikers, climbers, and outdoor enthusiasts who become lost or injured in Colorado's challenging high-altitude environment, where weather and terrain can turn deadly within hours. This happened throughout February of last year when I was assigned to investigate a disturbing pattern of missing couples who had planned romantic Valentine's Day hikes in the wilderness areas around Rocky Mountain National Park, but who vanished without leaving any trace that our search teams could follow. The disappearances began on the 10th of February with Tyler and Sarah Bennett, experienced hikers who had planned a romantic snowshoe hike to a scenic overlook about 8 miles into the backcountry, where they intended to share a Valentine picnic with champagne and chocolate. The Bennetts were well prepared for winter hiking with proper gear, GPS navigation, emergency communication equipment, and detailed trail plans filed with park rangers. They were experienced enough to handle Colorado winter conditions and smart enough to avoid dangerous decisions. When they failed to return by their scheduled time and couldn't be reached by emergency contacts, we initiated standard search protocols, following their planned route and checking all areas where winter hikers might encounter problems or seek emergency shelter. Or search teams covered over 200 square miles of wilderness using ground crews, search dogs, and helicopter reconnaissance, but found no trace of the Bennett couple or any evidence of where they might have traveled after entering the backcountry. The lack of evidence was unprecedented in my experience. Even when hikers die in avalanches or fall from cliffs, we typically find equipment, tracks, or some indication of what happened. The Bennetts had simply vanished from a well-marked trail system. 4 days later, Jonathan and Emma Rivera disappeared under identical circumstances. They had planned a romantic Valentine's hike to a mountain lake where Jonathan intended to propose marriage during a scenic picnic overlooking the frozen water and snow-covered peaks. The Riveras had even posted their romantic hiking plans on social media, complete with GPS coordinates and photos of their hiking gear and engagement ring. Their digital trail ended abruptly at the trailhead, where their vehicle was found with all doors unlocked and personal items scattered around the parking area. The scattered personal items showed signs of struggle or hasty evacuation, but the pattern made no logical sense. Essential items like wallets and car keys were left behind, while random personal belongings like Emma's scarf and Jonathan's sunglasses were missing. Our search for the Riveras expanded to include technical rescue specialists and extended wilderness coverage, but again produced no evidence of where the couple had gone after leaving their vehicle and entering the trail system for their romantic Valentine adventure. On the 14th of February itself, the pattern reached its most disturbing phase when 3 couples disappeared simultaneously from different trailheads across a 50-mile area of the Colorado Rockies, all planning romantic Valentine's Day hikes to various scenic destinations. Alex and Morgan Kim disappeared while hiking to a waterfall for Valentine photos. Derek and Nicole Thompson vanished during a planned romantic picnic hike to an alpine meadow. Carlos and Jessica Martinez never returned from their Valentine sunset hike to a mountain summit. The simultaneous disappearances suggested coordination that exceeded coincidence and indicated that something was systematically targeting couples who ventured into Colorado's wilderness for romantic celebrations during Valentine's week. All 3 couples were experienced hikers with proper equipment and realistic goals. Their planned routes were well within their capabilities and covered familiar terrain that shouldn't have posed significant hazards for prepared winter hikers. But our massive search operation, involving multiple rescue teams, aircraft, and specialized equipment, found nothing. 6 people had vanished from Colorado's wilderness as if they had never existed, leaving behind vehicles, emergency plans, and families who would never know what happened to their loved ones. The most chilling discovery came during extended searches, when we found evidence that the missing couple's gear was being used to create bizarre displays in remote wilderness areas that would never be found except by accident. Hidden in locations that required technical climbing to access, we discovered camping equipment arranged in patterns that resembled romantic scenes, sleeping bags positioned as if couples were still inside them, hiking boots arranged to suggest intimate encounters, backpacks organized to create the appearance of romantic picnics. The displays showed that whatever had taken the missing couples was studying human romantic behavior and attempting to recreate intimate scenarios using the victim's personal belongings as props in grotesque theater performances that no human audience would ever witness. Investigation into historical missing persons cases revealed that couples had been disappearing during Valentine's Day wilderness adventures in Colorado for over 20 years. But the incidents were spread across different jurisdictions and had never been connected into a recognizable pattern. The disappearances consistently involved couples planning romantic outdoor celebrations in remote areas where they could enjoy privacy and intimate connection with Colorado's mountain environment, but where that isolation also made them vulnerable to entities that hunted romantic pairs. I've developed specialized search protocols for missing couples during romantic holidays, but our success rate remains 0. Once couples disappear during Valentine's wilderness adventures, they are never found alive, and their personal belongings become props in entity-created romantic displays that mock human love. We continue coordinating mountain rescue because families deserve answers, and because each search operation might provide clues that help us understand what targets romantic couples in Colorado's wilderness. But I now recommend against Valentine's Day wilderness adventures in areas where disappearances have been documented. Some entities in the high country have developed a taste for romantic prey, and they've learned that Valentine's Day provides an annual supply of isolated couples who venture into the wilderness, seeking privacy for intimate celebrations that become permanent disappearances.